My name is Rachel, and for most of my life, I believed all I had to do was keep the peace to be loved. Smile, give, compromise, repeat. I didn't realize I was disappearing. At brunch, my mother looked me dead in the eyes and said, "You're lucky we even include you. Pity goes a long way." I smiled. That night, I canceled every credit card in my name. The next day, I emailed the lawyer about selling the cabin, and when my brother called me 23 times, I didn't answer once. But before I tell you how I finally broke free from the family that never saw me, let me ask you something. Where are you watching from? Drop your city in the comments below. I'm curious if anyone else out there knows what it's like to be the invisible one at the table. Now, let's jump into what really happened that Sunday morning that changed everything. It was Mother's Day. Of course it was Mother's Day. The irony wasn't lost on me, sitting there at Belmont Country Club, the place my mother insisted on because appearances matter, Rachel. I'd driven 3 hours to be there. 3 hours with my 14-year-old tabby cat, Mittens, meowing in his carrier because I couldn't leave him alone anymore. Not at his age, not with his kidney issues. The whole family was there. My mother, Patricia, holding court at the head of the table in her coral Chanel suit. My younger brother, Matt, with his wife, Stephanie, and their twin boys. Various aunts, uncles, cousins, 23 people in total. I'd organized the whole thing, of course. Made the reservations, sent the invitations, even pre-ordered the flowers because Mom liked white orchids, not pink. I was telling Aunt Carol about the nonprofit I'd been volunteering with when it happened. Mid-sentence, my mother's voice cut through the conversation like a knife through butter. "Oh, Rachel's always doing her little charity things. She has so much free time since the divorce. No husband, no kids. What else is she going to do with herself?" The table went quiet for a beat. Just a beat. Then nervous laughter rippled through the group. I felt my face burn, but I smiled. I always smiled. "Actually, Mom, the literacy program has helped over 300 kids this year." She waved her hand dismissively, her tennis bracelet catching the light. "That's nice, dear. Though I suppose when you don't have your own children to worry about, you can afford to play savior to other people's." Matt snorted into his mimosa. "Yeah, Rash has always been good at fixing everyone else's problems. Remember when she tried to save that three-legged dog? What happened to him again?" "He died," I said quietly. "He was 18 years old." "Right," Matt said, already scrolling through his phone. "Well, at least you've got that cat now. What's his name? Mittens? How very spinster of you." More laughter. I excused myself to the bathroom, but I heard my mother's voice as I walked away. "You have to include her in these things. She doesn't have anyone else. Pity goes a long way with Rachel. Always has." I stood in that bathroom stall for 10 minutes, staring at the marble walls, trying to breathe through the crushing weight in my chest. 52 years old, and I still felt like the 8-year-old girl crying in her closet while her parents screamed at each other downstairs. The girl who learned that if she just stayed quiet enough, helpful enough, invisible enough, maybe they'd remember she existed. But something shifted that day. Maybe it was the way the words pity and include hung in the air like poison. Maybe it was the fact that I'd spent $1,800 on this brunch, and no one had even said thank you. Or maybe it was just time. I walked back to the table, sat down, and smiled through the rest of the meal. I smiled when Matt mentioned needing a co-signer for his new business venture. I smiled when my mother reminded everyone that family helps family. I smiled when Stephanie made another joke about my sad single life. But inside, something had finally snapped. 3 days after the brunch, I was sorting through old paperwork in my home office when Mittens jumped onto my desk, knocking over a cup of coffee onto my keyboard. As I was cleaning up the mess, my laptop pinged with an email notification. The sender made my blood run cold. Douglas and Associates Law Firm. My father had been dead for 4 years. The estate had been settled, or so I thought. The email was addressed to Matt, not me, but it had been accidentally CC'd to my old email address, the one from my married name that apparently was still in their system. The subject line read, Final distribution of remaining trust assets. My hands shook as I read. There had been a second trust, one my mother and Matt had known about for 2 years, one with another $400,000 that was supposed to be split equally among the children. Only according to this email, Matt had already received his advance of $300,000 6 months ago for his business ventures. $300,000 of my inheritance. I called my mother immediately. She answered on the fourth ring, sounding annoyed. Rachel, I'm at my Pilates class. What is it? The trust, Mom. Dad's second trust. Silence. Then, I don't know what you're talking about. I saw the email. The one from Douglas and Associates. A longer pause. I could hear her breathing, calculating. That money was earmarked for Matt's business. He has a family to support, Rachel. You have your job, your little teacher's pension. You're fine. That was my inheritance, Mom. Mine. Don't be dramatic. We were going to tell you eventually. Besides, you know how you are with money. Remember how your ex-husband had to handle all the finances? We thought it best to simplify things. My ex-husband, the one who'd gambled away our savings and left me with nothing but debt and humiliation. The one my family still somehow painted as the victim in our divorce, because men need their freedom, Rachel. You stole from me. We did no such thing. We made a family decision, for the good of everyone. Matt needed it more. Matt drives a Tesla, Mom. His house is worth $2 million, and he has responsibilities. Children, a wife, a future. What do you have? That cat? I hung up. My hands were shaking so badly I dropped the phone. Mittens rubbed against my arm, purring, as if he knew I needed the comfort. That night, I went through everything. Every financial document, every email, every text, and that's when I found it. A group email chain titled Family Business that I'd never been included in. Someone had forwarded it to Matt's email, the one I still had access to from when I helped him set up his business account 3 years ago. He'd never changed the password. The emails went back months. My mother, Matt, Stephanie, even my cousin Derek, all discussing the Rachel problem. She's too emotional about money. Better to ask forgiveness than permission. She won't even notice if we're careful. Thank God she's too trusting to ask questions. But the one that destroyed me was from Matt, dated 3 weeks before the Mother's Day brunch. Just keep playing nice. She'll co-sign the loan like always. She can't help herself. It's pathetic, really. Like a dog begging for scraps. I printed every single email. Then I did something I'd never done before. I went to my filing cabinet and pulled out every financial document with my name on it. The cabin deed, the credit cards I'd co-signed, the emergency account I'd set up for family medical expenses, the investment fund I'd created for the twins' college education. My name was on everything. 40 years of being the responsible one, the reliable one, the one who always said yes. Well, not anymore. Have you ever noticed how family members only call when they need something? Drop a comment if you've experienced this, because what happened next proved to me that I wasn't family. I was an ATM with feelings they occasionally had to manage. The morning after I discovered the emails, I sat in my lawyer's office. Janet Reeves was a small woman with sharp eyes who'd handled my divorce. She looked at the papers I'd brought and whistled low. Rachel, you have power of attorney on half of these accounts. I know. You could legally freeze them all. I know. She leaned back in her chair. But there will be consequences. Your family will come after you. Hard. They already have. They just did it quietly. That afternoon, I started the process. One by one, I removed myself from every shared account, canceled every credit card, and revoked every financial guarantee I'd ever made. The cabin was trickier. It was in my name, but it was understood to be family property. My father had begged me on his deathbed to keep it in the family, Rachel. Promise me. I'd promised. But that was before I knew my family had been laughing at me behind my back while picking my pockets. The first call came at 6 p.m. Matt. Rachel. What the hell? The credit card got declined at dinner. Steph is mortified. I didn't answer. The second call came at 6:15, then 6:22, then 6:30. By 8 p.m., I had 43 missed calls and 17 text messages. They ranged from confused to angry to threatening. Mom, this is childish, Rachel. Call me immediately. Matt, you're destroying this family over petty jealousy. Stephanie, the boys are crying. Is this what you wanted? The boys were crying because their credit card got declined? That told me everything I needed to know about what values they were learning. But the universe wasn't done testing me. The next morning, I woke up to find Mittens struggling to breathe. He'd been declining for months, but this was different. I rushed him to the emergency vet, where they told me his kidneys were failing faster than expected. He needed intensive treatment. It would cost $8,000 just to stabilize him. I didn't hesitate. I'd spend every penny I had on that cat. He'd been with me through the divorce, through every lonely holiday, through every night I'd cried myself to sleep, wondering why I wasn't enough. While I sat in that waiting room, holding Mittens as they prepared him for treatment, my phone rang. Mom. Against my better judgment, I answered. Rachel, Matt's son fell at soccer practice, broke his arm. The medical credit card you canceled was our emergency card. How could you be so selfish? Use your own credit card, Mom. This is about that money, isn't it? You always were jealous of Matt. Ever since he was born. I'm at the vet, Mom. Mittens is dying. It's just a cat, Rachel. Your nephew is injured, and his parents are millionaires. I'm sure they can handle a copay. You're being cruel. No, Mom. I'm being done. She was quiet for a moment. Then, in that ice-cold voice she used when she wanted to cut deep, your father would be ashamed of you. My father left me money you stole. Who should be ashamed? We didn't steal anything. We redistributed based on need. Matt has a family, and I have nothing, right? Just a cat and a pathetic spinster life? I didn't say that. You didn't have to. You've been saying it for years. I hung up and turned off my phone. Mittens made it through the night. The vet said he was a fighter. I told her he learned from the best. 2 weeks passed in silence. I'd blocked everyone on my phone except for emergency contacts. I worked. I cared for Mittens. I saw my therapist. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. Then Matt showed up at my door. It was raining, because of course it was. He looked terrible, unshaven, red-eyed, holding a gas station bouquet of flowers. Rach, please? Can we talk? Every instinct told me to close the door. But 52 years of conditioning is hard to break. I let him in. He sat on my couch, the same one he'd made fun of for being too beige, too boring, too Rachel. Mittens hissed at him from his bed in the corner. Smart cat. I'm sorry, he started. We shouldn't have handled the trust that way. You mean you shouldn't have stolen from me? He winced. It wasn't stealing. Mom said you'd agreed to it. When? When did I agree to give you 3/4 of my inheritance? She said. She said you understood, that you wanted to help. And you believed that? Or did you just not care? He was quiet for a long moment. Then he started crying. My baby brother, the golden child, the one I'd protected from our parents' fights, the one I'd driven to school every day when Mom was too drunk and Dad was too absent, crying on my beige couch. The business is failing, wretch. I'm going to lose everything. The house, the cars, everything. Steph's already talking to divorce lawyers. The $300,000 didn't help? I made bad investments. Bitcoin, NFTs, stupid stuff. I thought I could triple it. Of course he did, because Matt never had to be careful with money. There was always more, usually mine. I need your help. One more time. If you co-sign the business loan, I can fix this. I swear I'll pay you back. Every penny from the trust, with interest. I looked at him, really looked at him. 48 years old and still expecting me to save him. Still seeing me as the solution to his problems, not a person with my own life. No. Rachel, please. I'm your brother. When? When have you been my brother? When you called me pathetic in an email. When you laughed about my divorce. When you took my inheritance and justified it because I don't have kids. I didn't mean those things. Yes, you did. You meant every word. He stood up, and the mask slipped. The tears dried instantly, replaced by anger. You're really going to let my family suffer because your feelings are hurt. Your family is suffering because you gambled away stolen money. It wasn't stolen. You weren't using it. I wasn't using it because I didn't know it existed. And why do you think that is, Rachel? Because everyone knows you just waste it on another failed relationship or another dying animal. At least I was trying to build something. There it was. The truth. Not an apology, not reconciliation, just another manipulation. Get out. The cabin, then. Sign it over to me. I can use it as collateral. The cabin is being sold. His face went white. You can't sell Dad's cabin. Watch me. I'll sue you. With what money? He moved toward me, and for a moment, I thought he might hit me. Mittens growled from his bed, a sound I'd never heard him make before. Matt stopped. You're going to die alone, Rachel. You know that, right? No husband, no kids, no family, just you and that dying cat. Maybe, but I'll die with my dignity. Can you say the same? He stormed out, slamming the door so hard the pictures on my wall shook. I sat down next to Mittens, my hands trembling. He crawled into my lap, purring despite his pain. "We're okay," I whispered to him. "We're okay." The next morning, I woke up to find my lawn covered in garbage. Someone had emptied 3 trash bags across my front yard. The security camera showed Matt's Tesla pulling away at 3 a.m. But that wasn't the worst part. When I checked my email, there was a message from my mother with the subject line, "Since you want to be petty." She'd attached screenshots of messages I'd sent her over the years. Vulnerable messages about my divorce, about my miscarriage that no one else knew about my struggles with depression. She'd forwarded them to the entire extended family with her own commentary. "As you can see, Rachel has always been unstable. We've tried to help her for years, but she refuses to see reality. Please pray for her mental health." I sat at my kitchen table, reading message after message from cousins, aunts, uncles, all offering to help with my mental health crisis. Some suggested therapy, others suggested medication. A few suggested I should be committed. My own mother had weaponized my pain to discredit me. That's when I decided to go nuclear. I called Janet. "I want to sell the cabin immediately, below market if necessary." "Rachel, are you sure?" "And I want to release a statement about why, the full truth, the theft, the emails, everything." That could get messy. It's already messy. At least this way, it's honest. The cabin sold in 6 days to a developer who planned to tear it down and build condos. The place where we'd spent every summer, where Dad taught me to fish, where I'd carved my initials into the dock at age 7. But I felt nothing. They'd already destroyed every good memory I had there. The family explosion was immediate and spectacular. Matt drove 4 hours to bang on my door in the middle of the night. I have it all on security camera. Him, drunk, screaming about how I destroyed his children's legacy, how I was a bitter, jealous witch who couldn't stand to see others happy. "You killed Dad's memory," he screamed. "You killed it because you're already dead inside." I called the police. They arrested him for drunk and disorderly conduct. Stephanie called me the next day. "You had him arrested? His own sister?" "I had a drunk trespasser arrested. I don't have a brother." "The boys saw their father in handcuffs, Rachel. They're traumatized. Then maybe their father should make better choices." "You really are heartless." "No, I just stopped having heart for people who never had heart for me." A month later, Mittens passed away. It was peaceful. The vet came to my home, and I held him as he went to sleep for the last time. 14 years of unconditional love, gone. I posted about it on Facebook, just a simple tribute to my best friend. Within an hour, my mother had commented, "Finally, now maybe you can focus on real relationships." I screenshot it before she could delete it, but she didn't delete it. She doubled down, adding, "Pets are no substitute for family, Rachel. You chose a cat over your own blood. That says everything." 37 people liked her comment. Family members, family friends, people who'd known me since I was a child, all clicking that little thumbs up on my mother's cruelty while I was grieving. But then something unexpected happened. My elderly neighbor, Mrs. Chen, knocked on my door with a casserole and a card. The checkout girl at the pet store, where I'd bought Mittens food for years, sent me a sympathy message. My therapist called to check on me, even though it wasn't our scheduled session. Strangers showed more compassion than my family ever had. The final straw came when I received a certified letter. My family was suing me for the cabin sale proceeds. They claimed I'd violated my father's dying wish and owed them emotional damages. I laughed. Actually laughed. They'd stolen $300,000 from me, and they were suing me for emotional damages. Janet called it desperation disguised as litigation. She said we'd win easily, but winning wasn't the point anymore. The point was that they'd rather destroy me legally than admit what they'd done. I need to ask you something. If you've ever had to choose between keeping toxic family in your life or saving yourself, what did you choose? Tell me in the comments. Because this next part is where I made my final choice. The lawsuit meant depositions, which meant everyone had to testify under oath, which meant the emails I'd found would become public record. Matt tried to settle out of court. He offered me $50,000 to drop everything and move forward as a family. "I don't want your money, Matt. I want the truth on record. This will destroy Mom. Mom destroyed herself when she stole from her own daughter. She's 73 years old, Rachel, and I'm 52. How many more years should I sacrifice for her comfort?" The deposition was brutal. My mother, under oath, admitting she'd hidden the trust. Matt admitting he'd taken the money, knowing I hadn't been informed. The emails read aloud by lawyers, every cruel word echoing in that sterile room. But the worst part was when my mother was asked why she'd excluded me. Rachel has always been difficult, she said, ever since she was young, needy, emotional. We had Matt, and he was such an easy child. Rachel never got over not being the baby anymore. So you felt justified in taking her inheritance. We didn't take it. We redirected it to where it would do the most good. Rachel doesn't understand family responsibility. She never has. Because she doesn't have children? Because she's selfish. Always has been. The divorce proved it. She couldn't even keep a man happy. My lawyer asked one final question. Do you love your daughter, Mrs. Patterson? My mother was quiet for a long moment. Then, I suppose I must. She's my child. But love and like are different things, aren't they? There it was, on record. My mother admitting she didn't like me, never had. I won the lawsuit. They had to pay my legal fees and return the $300,000 they'd taken. Matt declared bankruptcy 2 weeks later. Stephanie divorced him. My mother moved in with her sister in Florida, telling everyone I'd ruined her life. And me? I took the money and moved across the country. Bought a small house with a garden. Got another cat, a rescue named Felix who follows me everywhere. Started volunteering at the library again. Built a life that was quiet and peaceful and entirely mine. 6 months after the lawsuit, I got a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Aunt Rachel? It was one of the twins, Michael. He was 16 now. Your parents don't know I'm calling, he said quickly. But I wanted you to know something. I saw the emails. All of them. During the lawsuit stuff. And I'm sorry. What they said about you, it wasn't right. Michael, you were the only one who ever really saw us. You know? Not as extensions of dad or trophies for mom to show off. You actually cared about what we thought, what we wanted. I still care. I know. That's why I'm calling. To tell you that when I turn 18, I'm going to come visit. If that's okay. I want to know my actual aunt, not the version they created. I cried after that call. Not from sadness, but from something else. Hope, maybe. That despite everything, something good had survived. A year passed. Then 2. I built my quiet life carefully, deliberately. Therapy twice a month. Yoga on Wednesdays. Book club on Fridays. I dated a nice man named Robert for 6 months, but we parted amicably when it became clear we wanted different things. I was okay with being alone. More than okay. I was free. Then, on my 55th birthday, I got another call. This time from my cousin Linda, my mother's niece. Rachel, I'm calling about your mom. She's had a stroke. The old me would have been on the next plane. The old me would have dropped everything to rush to her bedside, but I wasn't the old me anymore. Is she stable? Yes, but she's asking for you. I'm sure she is. Rachel, she's your mother. No, Linda. She's a woman who gave birth to me. There's a difference. That's cold. No, that's survival. I didn't go. Matt sent me a scathing email about it, calling me inhuman. I didn't respond. My mother recovered, partially. She needed full-time care. Matt couldn't afford it. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. I'm 56 now. I'm telling this story not because I'm proud of what I did, but because I need others to know sometimes the only way to save yourself is to let others paint you as the villain. My family tells a version of this story where I'm the bitter sister who destroyed everything over money, where I abandoned my elderly mother and bankrupted my brother out of spite, where I chose a cat over blood. And you know what? Let them, because I know the truth. I know about the 44 Christmases where I cooked the entire meal while they watched football. I know about the 17 times I bailed Matt out of financial trouble before the trust theft. I know about the countless nights I spent crying in my car after family dinners where I was the punchline of every joke. I know about the miscarriage I suffered alone because my mother said it was probably for the best since I was too old anyway. I know about the therapy sessions where I had to learn that love shouldn't require you to disappear. Today I live in a small coastal town where no one knows my history. Felix and I watch the sunrise every morning from our porch. I volunteer at the library, teaching adults to read. I've made friends who celebrate my victories and comfort me in my defeats. Real friends, chosen family. Michael visited last month, now 18, and free to make his own choices. He stayed for a week. We talked about books, about his plans for college, about the kind of man he wants to become. Not once did he ask about the money, or the lawsuit, or the family drama. He just wanted to know me, the real me. Before he left, he said something that healed a part of me I didn't know was still broken. You know, Aunt Rachel, you're nothing like they said. You're actually the strongest person in our entire family. You're the only one who had the courage to leave. So here's what I want you to understand, especially if you're watching this and seeing yourself in my story. You don't owe anyone your destruction. Not your mother, not your siblings, not anyone who claims blood gives them the right to drain you dry. Family isn't about DNA. It's about respect, kindness, and mutual care. If your family doesn't provide that, you have every right to build a new one, from friends, from neighbors, from rescue cats who purr through your tears. And to those of you who think I'm heartless for selling the cabin, for not rushing to my mother's bedside, for choosing myself over family obligation, I have one thing to say. They said, pity goes a long way. Turns out, so does silence. The loudest thing I ever did was refuse to answer when they called. The strongest thing I ever did was stop trying to earn love that was never there to begin with. And the best thing I ever did was learn that being alone isn't lonely when you finally like the person you're with. Before I go, tell me, have you ever had to choose between family and your own peace? What did you choose? Let me know in the comments. And remember, sometimes the best revenge isn't making them pay, it's refusing to pay for them anymore. Sometimes walking away is the ultimate victory. Sometimes silence is the most powerful last word.